Well, first, my name's Gary Jones, and I'm a director, producer, writer, and special effects artist, visual effects artist, makeup artist. And actually, I started my career in film doing makeup effects and building miniatures and blowing things up for movies and a lot of TV commercials up in Michigan. And from that, I kind of segued into directing. But I found once I got into the directing and producing movies, there's a lot of downtime between movies, and all my filmmaker friends would always call me and go, "Hey, you used to do this, come on back and do these effects." So I found that I segued back into doing makeup effects, practical effects, miniatures and things. And I found that I really enjoyed it. It was a different experience from spending, months and months writing a script and a year trying to raise money to make a movie. This way I could go back and just pick up the clay and sculpt something and make a mold and get back in, and it felt good about creating it. So a lot of times on my movies now, I'll always do a little bit of effects work. I always hire other people, but I always kind of step back, even if I'm directing or producing, and dabble in it and still do a few things, and then in between, I work on other people's shows.
Hi, I'm Dan. My name's Dan Clay. I'm 40, and I am from Newton Falls, Ohio. I'm a makeup artist. I've been doing makeup since I was 14 years old, but I really got serious about it about 4 years ago. I've worked on several independent films, one called Chill, one called Candyman, Night of the Cannibals, getting ready to work on Night of the Living Dead Rebirth. It's going to be coming up pretty soon this summer. It's going to be fun. I kind of want to take this stuff off, so I'm going to do this right now.
Dan,
If I can.
And
is
here we
the
go.
microphone on?
It is.
Okay, hand it back and forth between each other.
Sure, no problem. How's this?
There we go. Thanks.
And we do the countdown.
Ow. This ain't the way you're supposed to do this.
Well, Dan's taking the makeup off there. So I guess, a lot of times too, I like to ask if anybody has questions about, makeup effects or how we do stuff. And also we can tell you a couple of stories, during the making of the projects we've worked on and how we did specific things or what worked or what didn't. A lot of people like the what didn't happen.
Dan, the mask you just took off,
Yeah.
do you make those yourself?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
This one I sculpted, and I had just a standard head form, so I couldn't run it in foam latex because I don't have if I had a full life cast in my head, I could do that in foam. So I just did mass latex. I made the horns out of just foam tubing and just kind of carved them and melted it to the desired thickness. The face I sculpted on my life cast and molded, ran that, and then the teeth I made out of acrylic. So that's how I did that.
Now, theoretically, you could make up 3 or 4 of those for a shoot, and if you ripped one, you've got that backup to actually go
yeah,
to.
normally, yeah.
And that's quicker than actually applying the makeup, getting on set and doing a 2 or 3 hour workup.
Yeah, you could do that. Still, usually it does take time. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of people watch that new show Face Off and think everybody can do it real quick. And I'm pretty quick at it. I like going fast, and I make a mess though when I go fast.
All right.
But
Yeah, on Face Off, this stuff's time lapse and you're
Yeah.
getting little bits and pieces.
I've
But-
been trying to get on there, but
You are using this in films, right? So
this right here, no. I made this just.
you just made that for today?
Yeah.
All right, good.
But usually, the films I've worked on are I call them low budget, no budget films.
Mhm.
So basically, I'm out of kit makeup artist. I got a lot of zombie films. In this area is zombie crazy. Zombie, I'm sick of doing zombies.
Ohio's a lot of zombie movies.
Yeah, Ohio. I live close, in between here and Pittsburgh, so you got Ohio and then Pennsylvania, and everybody loves zombies. So I do a lot of zombie fests, zombie crawls, stuff like that. I make decent money doing that. Just paint people up real quick. So, but I haven't had the opportunity to do a creature film yet around this area. So I'm hoping, I got another zombie one coming up. Actually, I have 3 zombie movies I'm working on this summer. But I'd like to do creature work. That's what I'd really like to do. I'd like to like maybe get picked up by a studio or something. I've been doing it on my own, and it's like I'd like to get in an actual big studio, show what I can do. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna, we just finished, the movie I just finished, it's actually been out now, it's called Axe Giant, The Wrath of Paul Bunyan, and one of the things we did on that was, I wanted to do the throwback. I love all the movies that are out there, but, when I go to see the Transformers and stuff, and they're great movies, and it's all CG. I mean, there's nothing there, and I grew up watching all these great monster movies where there was all rubber-suited monsters, and Godzilla and all that. So when we were doing Axe Giant, it was an independent film, and I've done features where the budget was there or was hired, but Axe Giant was, I pulled the money out of my pocket to make it. Decided to go right back to the beginning because we wanted to make something we wanted to make, and didn't have any other jobs, and I thought, I gotta make a movie. So we came up with Axe Giant, which was our Paul Bunyan movie. I said, you know what, we're gonna make a big rubber suit, we're gonna get a big guy, wrestler guy, a guy who can act, and put him in a suit, and we're gonna build miniatures. And the only CG really will be compositing him into the scenes, or compositing the people into the stuff with him. And I thought that would be the good mix where I could use the techniques of today, but also what I love, which is big rubber monsters. And that's how we did Axe Giant. And I remember a lot of my Hollywood friends would say, you're gonna be screwed because, everybody wants CG monsters. And the minute we went out there and screened it, at the very first screening, I had 2 distributors, one from New York and one from LA, come up to me after the screening and went, you made a big rubber suit and you did miniatures. That's not CG. And I said, yeah, and they go, we love it. It's good, nobody's kind of doing that. And from that first screening, I got distribution. So it was like, it was a gamble, but I think it paid off well. I think audiences want to have something practical there, and anything can be done in computer graphics today, But, and I found actors complain sometimes, but they love makeup. And anything I do, I always try to go, all right, what can I do practically? And if it's just too hard and too time consuming to do with makeup, then you add the CG to it. But I like to have 75 to 80% of the elements there, which is makeup effects, rubber creatures. If I have a giant rubber monster or a giant creature, like I did in the movie Crocodile, we had a giant head of a crocodile, a big rubber head that we could put people in that could chomp on, and we had the tail and everything, but some of the big wide shots of it running around would be CG. But always try to have practical effects on there and makeup. And
I've seen a lot of films that are all CG, and I like the marriage between practical and CG. But when it's just CG, well, for one thing, it puts us makeup artists out of a job. But another thing, I don't think it's as real. It ain't as real to me. If you see somebody getting poked, and you can kind of tell it's CG, and then you got somebody practical that can do the job. I don't know. I like the marriage between both of them when it works together good. But of course, I'm into practical over CG. I do like the marriage of them together. Like on AMC's The Walking Dead, they use a lot of practical and the CG, and it works really well.
That's something I believe the same thing, which is I always try to have as much practical stuff, because I think when I started doing visual effects, computer stuff's great, but what I found is the computer, it's too perfect. And I spend more time with my visual effects dirtying them down and making them uneven. And that's what I think we see a lot when we see computer graphics. It's exactly perfect, and it lands, it does whatever. But if you have a rubber suit, the rubber moves a different way, the actor's fighting against it, you get something that's special where we feel like, it can't be CG, it has to be real, and that's how a real body would move. So I agree, plus it keeps us employed.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever wanted to be an actor? At Cleveland Academy of Film Acting, anyone can get on the path to a new exciting film career. If you're new to acting, an experienced pro, or somewhere in between, Cleveland Academy is for you. We help place our students in local film projects. Classes are on Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m., and your first class is absolutely free. Call 216-323-2393. That's Cleveland Academy of Film Acting.
Admit it. You're the one who killed him. You seduced him. gained his confidence. And then when he wasn't looking, you reached into your purse and without conscience or remorse, you pulled out a gun and shot him. And cut. Curious? Visit theindygathering.com, a film festival, and so much more.
I just wrapped on a movie up in Michigan, which is a sequel. We did a movie years ago called Moontrap, where our heroes go to the moon and they fight robots. And that was all done practically with a little bit of optical effects, but we built miniatures and we built robots and puppets. And we just shot the sequel, and there's a lot of green screen in it for a lot of the spaceship stuff, but the director and I said, hey, we gotta make robots. So we just built practical robots. So there will be no CG robots in there. We didn't want to try to compete with Transformers because we can't. We're an independent film. So we built practical robot suits, and I made them out of fiberglass, and I made them out of latex rubber, which is my favorite material ever. Plaster and latex rubber, which is what that is. And it's the workhorse. And growing up, they made monsters out of latex rubber. And my entry into the business was making Halloween masks. I did a bunch of sculpting and made masks, and I always found that no matter what I'm doing, whether it's hydraulics or pneumatics or fiberglass and all this other electronic, there's always rubber in there somewhere. It's like the smooth parts where the guy has to move here, we're making out of rubber. The crocodile movie, I did this movie called Spiders. My first movie, Mosquito, the way I raised the money for that was I made a giant rubber mosquito this big, and took it to the investor's house and put it on his table. We had people come by and they got money for it. And that movie is 99% all rubber monsters, rubber mosquitoes on wires. I had 2 or 3 stop motion shots in it because I had a friend who did stop motion. And there's 1 or 2 optical effects for like a swarm in the distance, but everything else, it's all rubber. And there's a certain charm to that for the practical effects and makeup effects. And I'm a big believer in the makeup. I mean, we can do anything. We can change the actor's eye colors and all that. There's just something about taking an actor and putting him in a chair and putting the makeup on, and they invest the character. They take it on. If they have all that glued on them and they're supposed to be a demon or Walking Dead zombie, that stuff cakes on and it's hard and pulling. You're going to feel like you're dead.
Yeah.
And it gives the actors,
That's why I had to
they
get
complain, but they love it, But when you're
I like doing it, but I hate wearing it. I hate it. I can't.
But you have to become that character then.
Yeah.
You have to be a demon,
Yeah.
you feel the pain. But, so now
These dentures are pretty painful too.
well, who made those?
Me.
See, that's the other thing. If I'm gonna wear the makeup, I make sure I make it a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, good question. How did you make those?
These right here.
Yes. Like, what was your
I have
procedure?
acrylic. What I did is, with this one, I had, it's like when you go to the dentist and you get an impression. You use alginate just like that, and I made an impression on my bottom teeth. And I just sculpted acrylic, brushed it on, around, and then this part I done on my light cast.
Okay.
Use like a release stuff. I forget about it right now. But and I just build it up, and then the teeth I got from the Monster Makers is supply, and Arnie Goldman owns it up in Cleveland. I'm good friends with him, so I get all my supplies there. So this one I just did right on my face, so I can just glue it on. Because if I had one that went up over the top here, I wouldn't be able to talk at all. It was hard to talk with this thing. So yeah, that's how I made those. I just painted them with alcohol-based makeup, alcohol palette.
Now,
Yeah, it's
release,
kind of a
you had
scam.
mentioned release. What's release?
Release is something like acrylic is a really hard substance when it dries, and it'll break or crack when you're trying to take it off. So you use a release agent so it'll come off. Like if you're doing a mold, for say of a face or something, and you mold it, you know, if you're going to take well, when you do a life cast or a mold of a face that you sculpted, you know, the clay will pretty much be stuck in the mold. If you don't want that, you can I'll spray it with some clear spray paint or something. You know, just kind of, then you ain't got as much clay in it. Stuff like, you know, Vaseline, or I use a glue stick over your eyes. Because if you, you know, you put the sticky stuff in there, you're going to be picking it out of your eyebrows, or you're going to pull your eyebrows off. So, anything, that's what a release is. That's my definition.
Any other questions maybe about makeup effects?
Question about contact lenses. I know I've heard different things like that. You should have a prescription, but they're selling them on the market. Is there a whole lot of concern with contact lenses that are out there and fitting properly and being used for creature effects?
Well, what kind of contacts? You know, it depends on the effect. I mean, you can go to the costume shop at about $60.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's
just cheapy contacts. They're not prescription. And you know, if you take care of them, I wore them. I can't see right now because I have my glasses on, but I can see pretty good with them. You know.
There's just the thing of like you know, it's your eye. So
Yeah.
you want to be like, you know, to get the solutions and all this stuff
Oh
to
yeah,
do it.
definitely. You want to take it. You know, a lot of people don't like. I know my friend Alan Tuskus don't like the cheapy ones. You know, he goes. He tells me don't use them, don't use them. I haven't had no problem with them, but it all depends on the people, you know.
Well, your budget too.
Yeah,
If you've
your
got the
budget.
money and you can get the, I always try to, you know, it depends on the actors too. I mean, in some of the independent movies and even in some of the bigger ones, you can kind of get away with stuff, but mainly what I've been doing over the years is I just budget it in. I mean, because I'm working with, sometimes we have SAG actors, you know, and you just really, again, it's, you know, it's an insurance issue. So I've had to hire an optometrist, a local optometrist, to be on the set to apply the lenses and clean them. And you know, it's expensive, but boy, at the end of the day, you know, it's like the actor is really appreciative of it. And the fact is you don't want to damage someone's eye. I mean, it does come down to that. We're sort of different, like we go, you know what, I'll put a little Vaseline in the eye, oh, I gotta clean that out. But we sort of take, you know, a few of those liberties on some of the independent stuff, but you really should. I mean, I think, anyway, on any film you do, if you can't afford it, what you do is you make friends at the local optometrist and say, hey, you want to kind of come out and work on a movie with us, you know? And they're really good at doing that kind of stuff with lenses and that. And I've done that in the past. And a lot of times you can get people to come out that are actually professionals to help you out. I know Al also.
Yeah.
He's the same way. He likes the better ones,
Yeah.
you know, the good lenses. So it's definitely a safety thing. You know, you're putting something on people. Sometimes people are allergic to latex. You got to find that out before you start putting latex on them. So it's makeup effects. You know, over the years it's gotten.
Some people don't know they're allergic to latex.
Until you get it.
Your best when your makeup artists do what they call patch test. You take a little bit of latex and put it like right in here. This is a spot on your body that if you're allergic, it'll react and you'll know. You know, so usually I'll do a little patch test. Let it sit there for 5-10 minutes. If they don't react, it don't bother them. You know, go with it. But usually, you know, you always ask them: are you allergic to latex? Are you allergic to breadcrumbs? You know, or some of my build-ups, I'll use breadcrumbs with latex, which kind of solidifies latex, makes it stronger. Dick Smith's method that I learned. You know, you got to ask, because I did makeup on this lady, and she's allergic to gluten. She's like, did you just put breadcrumbs on my face? And she broke out, and her eyes started swelling.
wow.
So yeah, I ask every dad, but you know, when you're making art, you got to learn as much as you can about the product you're using, because you never know. You know, I'm working on the Lenny film, so you know, I don't know if anybody's going to try to sue me. You know, but I don't want to get sued. You know.
Yeah, just protect yourself.
Yeah.
Do they offer hypoallergenic makeups that you can purchase?
Oh yeah, they do.
Okay. Do you know any brands off the top of your head that you've used?
I haven't really used any.
Okay.
No, I think Ben 9 makes on and maybe Maron.
there might be some Krylon stuff out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually never, I mean, in all the movies I've worked on, there was only one incident where somebody had a little issue with makeup, and it was really actually some straight makeup that they were putting on, some mascara or something for a woman's eyes. But I've never really had the problem. But
Introducing SoundForge Pro Mac, a 2-track audio editor reinvented by Mac users for Mac users, redesigned specifically for OS X. SoundForge Pro Mac features an elegantly refined interface. See everything at once, or toggle the view to see only the features you need. Record and edit high-resolution multi-channel audio with speed and precision. Process audio with a wide range of unique and powerful tools. Sony Creative Software now brings its industry-leading expertise and innovative product development philosophy to the Mac. SoundForge Pro Mac enhances your production workflow. It's the ideal complement to any digital audio workstation or non-linear editing environment. Redefining audio editing. SoundForge Pro Mac.
My makeup experience has been, even though I've done a bunch of movies, has been a little bit more limited. I did a lot more makeup when I was starting out, and I kind of segued because I was doing everything. I went more to practical effects and miniatures, and then the supplemental, severed head or arm or something. But early on, I did a lot of prosthetic makeup. I know we always tried it all out on ourselves, and I think I might have done maybe 150 commercials where I did cavemen and zombies and Frankensteins and stuff. And I never really ran across any problem back then. But I think there's a lot more, and it might be the chemicals they're using for the products now. A lot of people are more sensitive. So it's an issue now. It's a big issue.
One with the latex, when they're allergic to the ammonia in the latex. They do make a non-ammonia latex.
Okay.
I don't like it as much. I've tried it. But,
Yeah, I mean, you can find, just read up on your products, know what you're using is a big thing.
And you find out the actors you're going to put
Yeah.
the stuff on and say, what are your allergies? And be surprised. I mean, people will, I'm allergic to pollen or whatever. Or, it's actually even some actresses you can tell, you can ask them about, because they've had makeup on before. A lot of times you'll find out right away, I don't use this particular brand of makeup because it makes me break out. And then it leads you into like, oh, what is that brand? What's in it? What am I using that's similar?
Just safety, when it comes to, and then when it comes to effects too, you gotta be careful in blood tubing and stuff, you don't wanna get a certain kind of fake blood in somebody's eye, it might burn, you always gotta take precautions.
Can you talk a little bit about latex versus silicone for mask making, or for?
Latex is a lot cheaper.
That's the first thing.
Yes.
That's the thing. Silicone, I like silicone as far as it feels like real skin, and it's a little bit, the process isn't as hard as if you're using foam, you gotta cook it, and the silicone process, you just kind of mix it up and pour the molds, pretty much good to go. Or latex, you gotta cook it, you gotta cook it for several hours. If it don't turn out, then you gotta get again for several more hours, make another one.
I think the biggest thing you said, which is true, is it's a cost factor, but
Yeah.
what's great about silicone though is when you get silicone appliances, those edges just go right away. And with the latex and the foam latex stuff, you know, so you gotta work at it sometimes, and if it peels up, you know, and you try to put it down, you got a big bump.
Tweezers,
Yeah. So the silicone's definitely, I think more and more on the bigger shows, like Al does all that, they use almost exclusively, like in character makeups, silicone. But again, they've got the budgets for it, and it's like, you know, there's a lot of trial and error, and they're making up lots of pieces, and
Silicone's a lot heavier too. It's
Yeah.
a lot heavier than foam. Foam's a little light. So, you know, it's just, it's all on, what, you know, like the character makeups, I think silicone would be great for it. It looks like real skin.
How much more does silicone cost?
oh, it's easily like 3 times more. So if you do $100 makeup, you know, you're into $300-$400 makeup with, you know, it's just supplies. But a lot of scars too, you'll see, I mean, you've probably seen it a million times too, any kind of scars, and a lot of the zombie makeups too, there's just like subtle things that they'll use the silicone for. We've actually used a lot for limbs and for severed, you know, necks and heads and arms and things too, just
There are-
because
there are, like,
it's for close-ups, you know.
There's a product called Third Degree. And it's like a 2-part system. You just mix 2 parts together, and you can like, you know, like brush it on almost. I use that to get these teeth on. I use that silicone there. You can use that for zombies and stuff too. And it ain't that more expensive than latex. And it's pretty easy to work with. Third Degree.
I got a question about hydraulics, and I'm gonna pose that to you, Gary. You just got done wrapping Moontrap 2. Did you use hydraulics on the robots?
We didn't this time.
Okay.
We did on the first one, we used pneumatics and a little bit of hydraulics. This time, the director had a very specific list of what he wanted the robots to do. And it's an independent film, and money is tight, and we had to really stretch it because we had sets and locations and LA actors coming in. And so he said, okay, the robot, I want him to do this, and when he walks, the arms don't move. When he stops, he looks, and then he reaches and grabs the guy. And so I went, okay. In Moontrap 1, there was nobody inside those robots. They were all mechanical. And they were like 6 foot tall. So we had one that was 8 foot tall, but it was so thin, there wasn't going to be a person in it. It was all just going to be cable operated pneumatics. Well, this time, we wanted to have 9 foot tall robots moving around. And the budget was like, we didn't have the money for those things, and we decided, let's put a person inside. So we got painter stilts that gives you an additional like 14 to 18 inches tall. And one of the guys I work with, who's actually a makeup artist, effects artist, and a performer, is really good at walking around on the stilts. So I went, you're playing robot number 1. And so we built the suit to fit him. And what we did was, to make it work, is obviously he's on the stilts, so that gave us height. And for working the arms, we made a whole complete body for the robot. And if you go on Facebook, Moontrap Target, or the Facebook page, you'll actually see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. They're sort of putting a lot of pictures out. But we made a big fiberglass body shell that the guy is in, and his hands are where the shoulders are. And he's all encased, and the head of the robot's over here. And he's inside, and he's holding on the hand controllers. And we did gyros where he does this, and then the arm moves around, and he has a little cable release thing that makes the elbow go up. And for the close-ups of the fingers, we built him a mechanical arm we could bring him from the side. So now we've got this guy that can walk, stop, turn around, reach, and do things. And we didn't want to drag in any cables. And we did do some cables for the head to operate a little bit of the head movement. But the director was very specific what he wanted to do. So the challenge was, you know what? Let's put a guy in a suit. You know, it's got to move around, and we needed 2 of them. We needed a blue robot and a red robot. So we built one chassis, which is the whole understructure for the suit. And then we built the fenders, which is all the outer pieces. We had red ones and blue ones. So this day he's blue, the next day he's red. And in the same scene together, we shoot part of it against green and part of it against green, and we kind of put things together. But yeah, we decided to not go that route with hydraulics and pneumatics. We wanted a performance, so we scaled everything down, and we went as simple as possible. And we used latex for the knees, cast latex for necks and knees and movable parts, and we made it look like metal. And then we had fiberglass and then for a lot of it, we did vacuum forming just to keep it really lightweight. Because the guy's walking on stilts inside an encased thing like this, and you can barely see out the little vent, moving the arms. It worked out really good. So again, it's just that thing, you find out what the project is, and you know what your budget is, and you figure out how to make the effect the most efficient with the dollars that you have. And like I said, I always end up, no matter what I'm doing, I always end up going back to getting a bag of plaster and getting some clay and some, you know, some cast latex from Arnie, our good friend at Monster Makers. So. And the foam latex pieces, we did a few little things on this, dummy head or two, but.
So
it's always going back
you
to it.
sculpted the robots' heads and chest pieces, and then you made the molds?
We sculpted the head, chest, and some of the arms and legs, and we made molds. We made silicone and molds with a fiberglass jacket, and then we opened those up, and then we put fiberglass inside the silicone to make the actual shells for all the hard pieces. And then it was all put onto a chassis and all with conduit and pipes and stuff, and everything's attached to that. And all the arms of the robots are made out of vacuum form. Really, really thin ABS plastic. And it was real easy at that point because the design of it, the director really liked the Art Nouveau look, you know, and we took a little bit of Metropolis, that great Metropolis robot that we're just big fans of. And we incorporated some of that Art Nouveau design in it. So it really lent itself to making forms and then doing vacuum form, and it made the arms super lightweight because the guy had to carry all this stuff. And I found that it worked really, really well. We did that in conjunction with latex. Again, going right back to that great standard.
Welcome to Movie Outline 3, your first step to a successful screenplay. Movie Outline is powerful screenplay development software for both the amateur and the professional screenwriter, which uses the simple technique of step outlining to build your story, characters, and screenplay scene by scene. With Movie Outline, you can easily plan and customize your story structure, color code acts, rearrange scenes, develop and track characters, format your screenplay, and compare your own story to successful Hollywood movies. Movie Outline is the ultimate writer's tool. Visit www.movieoutline.com to download the free demo today.
You two have disrupted my classroom for the last time.
What are you gonna do about it? Spank us?
She can't spank us. It's against the law.
Spanking would be too easy. I want to cause more permanent damage.
And cut! Curious? Visit theindygathering.com, a film festival, and so much more.
Are you a filmmaker looking for the location of your next project? Contact the North Coast Film Commission. With small cities throughout Ohio, we're here to help with your film, television, and commercial productions. With low to no cost permits and locations, we'll help stretch your budget. From our production resources to our talent database, we will show you just what the North Coast has to offer. Visit northcoastfilmcommission.com today.
Any other questions about makeup effects?
What's a good tutorial or good sources that you could find that you could suggest for somebody that's really never done anything like that but has a high interest in it?
For makeup effects?
Like working with
Internet.
YouTube.
Everybody, there's a makeup artist that does tutorials. You can learn just techniques, books.
The internet, the YouTube thing you're speaking of is exactly, I mean, I'm amazed now. I just type in makeup effects, or I type in, you know, sculptures or Halloween masks. And you get the greatest videos, and you just scroll through them, and there's so many tutorials. I almost learned visual effects on the internet, just with tutorials. And I remember when I started out, I remember when you started out years ago, but when I started, there was like nothing. I mean, I had, you know,
Videotapes and books when we started.
I heard about Dick Smith.
Dick Smith was my
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
book. Dick Smith's Do-It-Yourself Monster Maker.
And then some young kid out in Hollywood named Rick Baker was doing something, and every now and then you'd get one picture, you know. But I would go to the library and find books on sculpture and mold making, guys that would make sculptures, and I learned how to make molds that way, and I had to figure out how do I do it with clay and foam. But today it's like it's all out there. Stan Winston Studios has Legacy Effects. you go on YouTube and type that in, they have a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and you can really pick up a lot of information from those. And you can actually take courses, online courses for that stuff.
Okay.
So it's out there, really. Just do a little search, and you can really get into it, you know, and start out small and get into even the bigger stuff. So.
What's your favorite cheap blood that so much of it doesn't look very realistic, but
My favorite cheap blood, I always end up making it. I mean, and I've used a lot of them out there for, you know, various reasons. The production already had that blood and they wanted to match it. But my favorite's always just making it. And I started using the powdered dyes and stuff, and it just really works well. But in a pinch, I go right back to the old standard. I used to use the food colorings, and I had, I forget the brand name, McCormick food colorings. But I'll tell you, when I started in the 70s, for some reason, the food colorings they were really rich. They were really accurate. And that today, it's kind of hard. So good monster makers, just go to their website and everything, and they, like I said, you can call them up, and they're very helpful. Anybody else interested in makeup or any questions?
One last question. He goes first. No, let him go first.
No, I was just gonna ask for, an inexpensive, spray blood technique. Tubing,
Oh, for spraying blood?
artery, something. Is there a technique that you use or
It depends. If you want like a mist of blood, use chalk, red chalk.
Really? Okay.
Powders, yep.
On camera, it looks so much better if you try real blood. You just gotta
And put a backlight back there and let it catch that light. Yeah, I mean, there's, if you look at some of the classic movies, I learned a lot of makeup effects by kind of just looking at classic movies and figuring out what could I use to make that work. If you've seen The Godfather, anybody who's seen The Godfather, the original Godfather, there's a scene in there where Michael shoots the two guys in the restaurant, and he shoots the one actor in the forehead, and they get a squib with a blood bag on the back of his head, but it blew out and missed it. And I looked at it and I thought for the longest time, wow, his head exploded and the blood missed it out. And I always go, wow, it's like powder, But it really wasn't, it was a squib. But then I did some tests with just exactly that, some red chalk powders, and I think my mom had some makeup powders things for some Halloween thing. And we just put it in a little dust-off can in a tube and it looked great, What you want to do is cut away quickly so that you don't have a cloud of dust flowing, but it gave the illusion of a mist. I've done a bunch of gags with just compressed air, mainly for spraying blood. Little dust-off can, all the way up to a little Hudson sprayer. You pump it up and hit it, and syringes. Just get some of those really big 60 cc syringes, and you get your blood tube and you put a little makeup sponge over it, one of those black sponges. They have a lot of holes in it, almost like filter material, and it kind of just sends the spray out in different directions. It doesn't look like CG where you get like one squirt this way and that way. It kind of just breaks it up, and use that for a lot of different things, for spraying blood. But yeah, the dust thing works great. I had a friend who did it.
A company that makes it pretty good is that Marilyn makes a squirt blood, and it squirts out pretty good out of the tube and stuff.
Yeah, I guess
it just mix it down with
thinner.
water.
Yeah, it's really thinner. That's your problem with the tubing. You got to have really, really thin blood.
Yeah, if you bought some over-the-counter fake blood and try to put it through the tube, it's too thick.
It's like the Carol blood we make too. I mean, you really have to thin it down, and when you thin it down, you don't get that. You lose a lot of the red. It looks like water. So if you're going to spray it through tubes, you want to take your blood, mix whatever it is, and thin it way down. But then you really want to pump in there the red food coloring or whatever it is to make the color. So it's almost more like paint. But then you're going to get, it's the staining problem. You got to be careful because it's going to get everywhere.
Well, when I worked on Evil Dead the musical, there's blood spraying everywhere, and they didn't like. We did all these tests. I did soap blood. It made the stage too slippery. I did the K-Row, made everything sticky. We just went with water mixed with red food color, the red coloring from the Monster Makers, and added a little bit of black to darken it up. It didn't look real good on stage because it just looked like water squirting out. But, the people leaving it,
Which is what that show is about,
Yeah.
is about you going to get the blood out.
Yeah.
So yeah, you look at the, just, thinking through, where's it gotta be? I mean, one of our biggest problems when I started out was, we did all this stuff, slit throats, blood spraying everywhere, but then, we had massive cleanups all the time because we were always putting way too much food coloring and everything, and just staining everything. So it was really just to find that marriage of stuff that would clean up easy, and a little bit of detergent in there, a little bit of dish soap actually helped, made it clean up a little bit better. Do you have one more question?
Okay, could you give me a quick rundown? I've got to do a bruise, like a black eye and a laceration. How would you start that out?
Black eye and laceration?
Yeah, say,
Same side or different side?
well, it's, it's a punch out. The guy's got in a fight, guy's got a real big black eye, and on this side he's got a cut.
I would do that laceration first.
Okay.
You could use all kinds of stuff. You could use latex, you could use nose and skull wax.
Now, what would you do first? Would you start out with a darkened line? Or,
What do you do? Build up first.
okay, and what would your buildup be?
You could use like nose and skull wax, or like a wax. You just build it up, and then actually put a cut in it.
Okay.
And then, color it. Usually, nose and skull wax is already like a skin tone. So
Okay.
maybe a little bit with some other color, just blend your colors. And then I would do the bruising last.
Do the
I like
coloring?
light and dark.
Okay.
That's my.
So you put a little bit of dark in the cut, and then a little bit lighter,
Yeah.
bloody. So the black makes it look deep.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good cheat, if you look at eyeliner and stuff. So your darks make it look like there's depth, and the lighter colors, give you that three-dimensional look. So you always go light to dark.
Yeah, I usually when I'm doing
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll get my skin tone first, and
Yeah.
then work.
Part of your problem is if you go too dark, you try to lighten it up,
Yeah.
you're fighting it.
Yeah.
So if you put your lights on first, then a little bit of dark, and it's not quite dark enough, you can do a little more. But if you got too much dark on there, you're constantly trying to lighten it up, and you get mud.
Okay.
And you gotta clean it all off. So, yeah, start with that and just go really light with the dark and step. I always do this test too when you're doing makeup, because it's like anything, when you're 6 inches away from doing something, and you're looking at it, you can't evaluate it. What I do then is I'll do something, I'll have the person step back 10 feet, I'll look away, then I'll say, okay, walk forward, and I'll turn and look at them and count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I turn away. And I look and I see what in those 4 seconds jumps out at me. And then I can evaluate, is it too much? Is it not enough? Or am I not seeing it? Because when you're up close on it, it's like, building model kits and stuff, You can't evaluate it.
Welcome to Movie Outline 3, your first step to a successful screenplay. Movie Outline is powerful screenplay development software for both the amateur and the professional screenwriter, which uses the simple technique of step outlining to build your story, characters, and screenplay scene by scene. With Movie Outline, you can easily plan and customize your story structure, color code acts, rearrange scenes, develop and track characters, format your screenplay, and compare your own story to successful Hollywood movies. Movie Outline is the ultimate writer's tool. Visit www.movieoutline.com to download the free demo today.
So it's always good to do that. You know, the lighting is an issue too. Make sure you got enough light, but also know if you're going to shoot something in a dark room like this, really moody lighting, and you're doing a zombie makeup, you can get away with murder on a lot of things. It can be really rough and spotty and just quickly done. But if you're going in for a close-up on your bruise, you need to do that and step away, don't look at it for a while, and then turn and look at the guy and count a couple of seconds and see what jumps out as real and what's not. It's kind of that evaluation. I do that on everything. I do it on even setups, you know, if I'm directing. I turn around and I look, okay, what's jumping out? So I want to know where my eye is going to go. You know, is it going to go to the wrong thing? You know, if I have an imperfection in the makeup, I don't want the eye to go to it. So I want to figure out what can I do to distract people from it, you know. You can direct them in on your makeup wherever you want them to go. And that's kind of like a key thing. And then you focus on what's important, and the stuff that's not, you spend less time.
We did an actual, like, slit throat in the movie, and the edge was real rough on the side. And of course, that's where they wanted to.
Yeah.
Luckily, it looked really good when, you know, the knife come across. Well, it was like you went like this, in fact, you know, from like this.
Right.
Okay, so, you know, we had it already pre-cut, and we had a bladder underneath, and then, you know, the blood was squirting out, and it looked really good, but then she like cut the hand at like the side angle, and you can see the edge blatantly, you know. But luckily, in the movie, it was supposed to be fake. So.
No. Now, in that instance, and I've had this happen to me on many shows where I'll do a makeup and we'll sit around waiting and they'll shoot the wide shots, and what comes up 5 hours later is the close-up when the makeup's falling apart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So as a director, because I've been hosed so many times doing stuff, and I've learned as a director to go, all right, I got intensive makeup, I go, I'm shooting the close-up first. And the makeup guys love me, because it's going to look the best. The other thing I always do is go, okay, here's what I want. I want the slit throat. And they say, you know, show me what you got and what the issues are. And I say, tell me what the issues are. And if he goes, well, you know, the seam over here is pretty bad, I go, all right, let's turn the guy in the shadow this way. Because, you know, you want to take that talent, whatever that artistic thing is, and make it be the best. So as a director, I knew how I got hosed in the past. So I try to work with the makeup guys and go, we're shooting the good, hey, is it ready? When does it look the best? Right now. Let's shoot that right now. Because in 5 hours, it's not going to look good. And then I work my way back to the wide shots, because it doesn't matter if there's a scene. The other thing I do is when I'm doing makeup for somebody, if I know I got a problem right off the bat, you don't want to go out on the set in front of everybody and have them go, oh, what the, you know, and get yelled at. So I usually bring the director back or the DP and I go, hey, I got a problem with this scene here. Is there any way we can shoot from this side? And the director goes, no, I got to shoot like this. I go, well, can we grab him here? Can I put a hand here? I go, it's going to take me 45 minutes to fix that. And the minute you start saying time, they go, yeah, we'll put a hand here. So I always try to, I find all my problems when I'm doing special effects, and I try to air the dirty laundry as quickly as possible with the director or the DP. DPs can screw you or they can help you. They put a shadow there or something, you know. So just be aware when you're doing your work, what looks good and what the problems are, because there's always going to be something wrong. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, it's never seen. So I always try to figure out what those are and work around those. And as a director now, I know all the gags that are coming up, and the guy goes, oh, I got a problem, I'm seeing it, you know, I got a cable here. I go, I'll erase it, don't have anybody cross it, you know, so I can do the digital work, I'll get rid of it. And that's what I like about visual effects, you know, and practical effects and makeup. I know I can go in there and fix a scene if we have a scene problem, rather than being down for 45 minutes to clean it. You know, the guys work so hard to put it all on, and it just happens. You know, something goes wrong. And And I always try to shoot the close-ups first. If I'm doing makeup on somebody, it's close-ups first. And if there's a problem on this side, I'll move everything over and shoot this side and cross the line and stage it that way. But you want to find out right away where the stuff's going to be seen and figure out how to help work with the director and the DP to get your stuff to look the best. Because I guarantee you, on all that stuff you've ever seen, The Exorcist, Planet of the Apes, doesn't matter. There's always a problem. You're just not seeing it, you know. Something's popping loose, so they put the camera over here. And then you've seen shows where you go, God, what is that edge of the makeup is being seen? Well, it's pretty, they shot it last. You know, they went for the master and then they worked into the close-ups, which is kind of traditional filmmaking. But I throw that out the window and say, oh, that makeup looks great right now. We're shooting the close-up first. And then as it falls apart during the day, we push the makeup further away from the camera. So little tricks to
The
me.
makeup artist, I won't work with you, I'm the director. A lot of them are.
I've been in those shoes too many times. I got hosed, so I'm like, I know how to do this. You know, and it's
You
know
makeup
what it
artists,
is.
you do quite a lot with the directors sometimes.
Well, you got something glued on a person's face. It's glued on. It's not nailed on. It's going to come off.
For instance, we were doing this scene, this girl gets her face ripped off. Like the killer hooked all these fishing hooks and the fishing line in her face and it's gonna rip her face off that way. She sat for I think it was 8.5 hours in this chair, hooked up to this thing, and they were filming dialogue. I had to get on, you know, on the director. Hey, she's been sitting here for 8.5. She's crying. It's cold outside. It's fall. We're in a barn. She's freezing to death. You know, I'm like, dude, we got to film this now.
Yeah.
Our makeup's been sitting there for 8 hours on her face. Now we don't know if it's going to work or what now. You know, it did, but
Well, if you're doing makeup on a movie and you have your production meetings and stuff and you're going through all that stuff, you got to like clear there and say, look, that's a 3-hour makeup job or an hour-and-a-half makeup job. Once she's in it, we need to shoot her within an hour, or it's going to fall apart, or there's going to be a problem, and then I'm going to shut you guys down. So you got to like, as much as you can, and without being a bastard, you got to like let them know what the deal is and say, look, if she's going to sit in the background for 8 hours, then I'm just going to make some low-end thing that you can't shoot in a close-up that we can put on and take off quickly. Or we need a double makeup so we can switch them out or something. So you've got to like find out what it is. But it always happens. When you get out there and they think because it's there forever. But the makeup falls apart. You know, it's a product that's going to come apart. And the wall is always going to be there. You know, so don't shoot the wall.
we did a zombie that's cut in half, so we buried the guy halfway in the ground.
And they went to
And
lunch.
it was, yeah, it was like muddy and cold. He started like shaking really bad. And I'm like, we gotta get him out of the ground. You gotta film this now. This guy's gonna die in the ground if we don't film this now.
I mean, I've had to do that and say, I'm sorry, I gotta take him out of this. And what? And you go, what can I do? You know, and we take him right out. They gotta shoot something else. And you always talk with the director.
To reshoot it, I've had to do a lot of reshoots because
Or talk with you get with the ADs and say, what are you shooting next? Can you guys shoot something else while I'm repairing this? I always find it's best to just be political and just work those angles as quickly as possible, and you're covered. You know, knowing what they're going to shoot and when, and going, hey, wait a minute, she's going to sit out there for 8 hours. I'm not putting this makeup on yet. You know, unless they see her, you know, in the shot. So it's like every movie's different, and you know, some directors and everybody are really accommodating, but you'll find that, you know, when they see it and it looks cool, we got it. They sort of forget that, you know, stuff's going to run, and things are going to pop loose. And I've had it happen with blood tubes where I don't prime the tube with blood until they're ready to go. And they say, we're ready to go, and I just stand there and I wait and I go, okay. Or they're not walking in with a slate.
Oh, yeah.
And invariably, they're moving a light, you know, or changing batteries or something. It's not really ready. And I always make them ready. Okay, ready to go? We got the slate ready? Okay, I'm going to prime the blood now. And I make them wait those 4 minutes for me. But sometimes you got to do it, you know. Otherwise, we'll be sitting with blood in the tube and start leaking, or, you know, something will happen. So I've learned to like wait till the last minute and say, all right, I can't do this until you're actually going to roll. And and as a director, I cover my butt because I know how I got hosed. And I just make sure I get all the good stuff as much as I can right up front. Any other questions? Cool. Well, thanks for coming in. And us talking about makeup.
Gentlemen.